You are listening to HOA Meltdown Moments. This is how a warning turned into a threat. "I am not the one you bluff," I said, and Karen shouted that my keys did not matter because the clamp was already locked. I looked down at my front tire. The heavy metal clamp was halfway shut, the bolt spinning as she cranked the remote in her hand like she was detonating something. I work as a school custodian in Tacoma, Washington, and I know everyone in town, but nobody prepared me for Copper Canyon Estates HOA Incorporated and the woman who runs it like a personal fiefdom. This is Cynthia Evans, Finance Committee Lead, and she just decided my guest was parked illegally even though the pass was on the dashboard the entire time. I am trying to finish a repair before the weather changes, and she is blocking it with threats, fees, and now a literal wheel lock. She stepped closer, reflective safety vest catching the light. "You can be mad, or you can be compliant," she said. "The board will back me because they are afraid of me." I pulled out my phone and started recording. A passerby on the sidewalk did the same, holding up a screen turned away from us. Cynthia did not care. She kept talking, listing violations I had never heard of, referencing rules that did not exist in any document I had ever seen. I let her. I watched her pile on threats, because that is exactly what I needed her to do. The story starts 3 weeks earlier. I had just finished a double-shift cleaning classrooms and came home to find a notice on my door. It was printed on HOA letterhead with a violation code I could not find in the rulebook. The notice claimed my guest had parked overnight without proper authorization. I checked my doorbell camera. My guest arrived at 6 in the evening and left at 9. The notice was time-stamped the next morning. Someone backdated it. I called the management company. They told me Cynthia handles parking enforcement personally. I asked for a copy of the parking rules. They said they would email them. They never did. Instead, I got a second notice 2 days later. This one added a $50 fine and referenced a new rule about guest pass placement. The pass had to be visible from the driver's side, not the passenger side. I had never seen that rule in writing. I went to the monthly board meeting. Cynthia sat at the head table in a pink cardigan, binder open, pen tapping. I asked about the placement rule. She smiled and said it had been policy for years. I asked where it was written. She said it was in the updated rules packet. I asked when that packet was distributed. She said residents were responsible for checking the portal. I checked the portal that night. The document was dated 2 days after my first violation. A contractor I know, a guy named Miguel, who refuses to be bullied, was at the meeting. He stood up and said he had gotten the same runaround. His work truck had been threatened with towing 3 times in 1 month. Every time, Cynthia cited a different rule. Miguel asked the board president if they had actually voted on any of these rules. The president looked at Cynthia. Cynthia said the rules were operational guidelines under the management contract, not board actions. Miguel asked to see the management contract. Cynthia said it was confidential. I left that meeting knowing this was not about rules. This was about control. Cynthia used parking enforcement to punish anyone who questioned her, and the board was too scared to stop her. The next week, I got a third notice. This one threatened towing. It claimed I had parked in a fire lane. I checked the curb, no red paint. I checked the site map filed with the county, no fire lane designation. I took photos and sent them to the management company. They replied with a form email saying all violations were reviewed and upheld. 2 days later, someone swapped my guest pass position on the dashboard, and Cynthia claimed it was never displayed. I have it on video. I watched her walk up to my car in the early morning, move the pass to the floor, take a photo, and walk away. I saved the footage. I did not confront her. I waited. The same day, I got a notice saying I owed $200 in accumulated fines. The notice included a line item called administrative processing fee. I looked it up. No such fee existed in the HOA budget documents filed with the state. I called the management company and asked who authorized it. They said Cynthia. I asked if the board voted on it. They said fees under $50 did not require a vote. I said this fee was listed as $75. They put me on hold. When they came back, they said Cynthia would call me. She never did. Instead, I got a certified letter. It said my account was in arrears and my vehicle was subject to immediate immobilization or towing. It gave me 72 hours to pay or appeal. I filed an appeal the same day. The appeal form asked for documentation. I attached the doorbell footage, the time-stamped photos, the county site map, and a screenshot of the missing fee in the budget filing. I submitted it through the portal. The system confirmed receipt. 3 days later, I got a rejection letter. It said my appeal was reviewed and denied. It did not say who reviewed it. It did not address any of my evidence. It just repeated the original violation codes and added a new late fee. I called the management company again. They said the rejection was final unless I wanted to request a hearing. I asked how to request a hearing. They said I had to submit a written request to Cynthia. I did. I hand-delivered it to the management office and asked for a time-stamped receipt. The clerk printed one and handed it to me. I asked when I would hear back. She said within 10 business days. That was the rule. I marked it on my calendar. Day 9, I got an email. It said my hearing was scheduled for the following week, but the location had changed. Instead of the clubhouse, it would be held at the management company regional office in Bellevue. The email said the regional supervisor leaves at a set time, and I had to catch them today. I checked the timestamp. The email was sent at 4 in the afternoon. The hearing was at 5. Bellevue was 40 minutes away in traffic. I called Miguel. He said it was a setup. He said Cynthia did this to people all the time. She would schedule hearings on short notice in inconvenient locations and then claim you forfeited by not showing up. He said I should go anyway, record everything, and make her say the quiet part loud. I got in my car and drove. I made it with 6 minutes to spare. The regional supervisor was a tired man in a polo shirt who looked like he wanted to be anywhere else. Cynthia was already there, binder open, documents fanned out. She started talking before I sat down. She said I had a pattern of non-compliance. She said I had refused to follow clearly posted rules. She said my behavior was disruptive to the community. The supervisor asked if I had anything to say. I said I had evidence. I pulled out my phone and started playing the doorbell footage. Cynthia interrupted. She said video evidence was not admissible unless it was submitted with the original appeal. I said I did submit it. She said the portal showed no attachments. I pulled up my confirmation email. It listed every file. The supervisor looked at Cynthia. She said the portal must have had a technical issue. She said it was not her fault I did not follow up. I asked to see the parking rule she kept citing. She flipped to a page in her binder and slid it across the table. I read it. The rule said guest passes must be clearly visible from outside the vehicle. It did not say driver side. It did not say passenger side. I pointed that out. Cynthia said the interpretation was up to the enforcement officer. I said that was not in the rule. She said it was standard practice. I asked who decided that. She said the board delegated enforcement discretion to the finance committee. I asked when. She said it was years ago. I asked to see the board resolution. She said it was in the archived minutes. I said I wanted a copy. She said I could request one through the portal. The supervisor asked if there was anything else. I said yes. I asked about the administrative processing fee. Cynthia said it was a standard charge. I said it was not in the budget. She said it was categorized under compliance operations. I pulled up the state filing on my phone. Compliance operations showed zero budget. Cynthia said the filing was outdated. I said it was from this year. The supervisor looked uncomfortable. He said he would need to verify that. He said he would follow up within a week. Cynthia said the fines were still due immediately. I said I was not paying for a fee that did not exist. Cynthia leaned forward. "You can be mad, or you can be compliant," she said. I left that meeting knowing I was not getting anywhere through official channels. Cynthia controlled the process. The board was afraid of her. The management company did not care. I needed something bigger. I called an attorney. He listened to everything and said I had a case for harassment and improper procedures. He said it would cost me $3,000 to file. I did not have $3,000. He said I could try small claims for the fines and see if that got their attention. I thanked him and hung up. I needed another angle. I went back to the portal and started downloading everything. Meeting minutes, budget filings, rule amendments, vendor contracts, violation logs. I spent 2 nights going through it all. That is when I found it. The management company contract expired 18 months ago. There was no renewal on file. The HOA was still paying them, but there was no active agreement. That meant every enforcement action they took, every fine they issued, every rule they cited was not backed by a valid contract. I checked with the county. No updated contract was filed. I checked with the state. No updated contract was filed. I sent a public records request to the management company. They sent me a copy of the old contract with an expired date. I asked if there was a renewal. They said they would check. They never got back to me. I called Miguel. He said that was the trump card. He said if the management company was operating without a valid contract, the HOA board was personally liable for every action they authorized. He said I should take it to the tow company. If the tow company found out they were enforcing violations under an invalid contract, they would cut ties immediately to avoid liability. I saved the documents and waited for the right moment. It came the next week. I got a text from the tow company saying my vehicle was flagged for immobilization. I called them. They said they had an authorization from Cynthia. I asked if they had verified she had authority to issue it. They said she was listed as the primary contact. I said I had documents proving the management company had no valid contract. The dispatcher put me on hold. When he came back, he said I needed to talk to the owner. He gave me a number. I called. The owner was skeptical. He said he had been working with Copper Canyon Estates for 3 years. I said the contract expired before he started. He said that was not his problem. I said it was if he wanted to avoid a lawsuit for unlawful vehicle seizure. He asked what I meant. I explained. If the HOA had no valid contract with the management company and the management company had no authority to authorize towing, then every tow he did was potentially illegal. He went quiet. He asked if I could prove it. I said I had the expired contract and the public records response. He said to email it to him. I did. 10 minutes later, he called back. He said he was pulling the authorization. He said he was not touching any more Copper Canyon vehicles until he saw a valid contract. I asked if he would put that in writing. He said yes. I asked if he would copy Cynthia. He laughed and said absolutely. That email went out the same day. 20 minutes later, my phone rang. It was Cynthia. She was screaming. She said I had sabotaged the HOA enforcement program. She said I was going to be fined for interfering with vendor relationships. I said she could try. She said the board would back her. I said the board might want to know they were personally liable for operating without a valid contract. She hung up. The next morning, I got a notice. It said a new rule had been added requiring all vehicles to display a permit decal in addition to guest passes. The rule was effective immediately. Decals would be available for purchase at the management office. I checked the portal. The rule was uploaded the night before, right after my call with Cynthia. I screenshotted everything. 2 days later, I got another notice. This one said I was banned from using the pool, the gym, and the clubhouse for non-compliance with community standards. I had never used any of those amenities. I did not care about access. I cared that Cynthia was trying to punish me for questioning her. I forwarded the notice to the attorney. He said it was retaliation. He said if I could prove a pattern, I could get an injunction. I said I already had a pattern. I sent him the file. Cynthia escalated again. She started pressuring neighbors to sign complaints and calling it community support. I got a letter saying multiple residents had reported my vehicle as a nuisance. I asked for the names. She said they were confidential. I asked how many. She said enough. I asked to see the complaints. She said they were internal documents. I filed another public records request. She ignored it. Miguel told me she was doing the same thing to 3 other families. All of them had questioned her at meetings. All of them were getting violation notices. One family had their vehicle towed from their own driveway because Cynthia claimed it was parked on the grass. The grass was a half-inch over the curb. Another family got fined for having a trailer parked overnight. The trailer was a small utility trailer used for work. It was gone by morning, but Cynthia had taken a photo at midnight and called it a violation. The neighborhood was turning into a surveillance state. People stopped inviting guests because they were afraid of getting fined. People stopped parking on the street. People stopped questioning anything at meetings. Cynthia won by making everyone too scared to fight back. Then, the insurance carrier sent a letter. It said the HOA liability policy was under review because harassment complaints were stacking. It said if the carrier found evidence of systemic retaliation, they would cancel coverage. I forwarded the letter to the board president. He did not reply. I forwarded it to the attorney. He said that was leverage. I decided to force the issue. I submitted a formal complaint against Cynthia. I cited the backdated notices, the fake fees, the invalid contract, the retaliation, and the harassment. I included the doorbell footage, the public records responses, the expired contract, the tow company email, and the insurance letter. I sent it to every board member, the management company, and the HOA attorney. I CC'd Miguel and 2 other affected families. The board scheduled an emergency meeting. I showed up. So did Miguel. So did the other families. So did a dozen other neighbors who were sick of Cynthia. The board president opened the meeting and said they needed to address concerns about enforcement procedures. Cynthia interrupted. She said the complaints were baseless. She said residents were trying to avoid accountability. She said the board had delegated enforcement to her, and she was doing her job. Miguel stood up. He said the board delegated nothing. He pulled up the meeting minutes on his phone. He read through every board action from the past 3 years. Not one of them mentioned parking enforcement. Not one of them mentioned fines. Not one of them mentioned Cynthia having unilateral authority. The board president looked at Cynthia. She said it was implied by her committee role. Miguel said that was not how delegation works. I stood up. I said the bigger problem was the expired contract. I pulled up the documents on my phone and passed my phone to the board president. He read it. His face went pale. He asked Cynthia if she knew the contract was expired. She said the management company told her it was automatically renewed. He asked if she had that in writing. She did not. The board attorney spoke up. He said if the contract was expired, every enforcement action taken under it was potentially void. He said the board needed to suspend all pending violations immediately and conduct an audit. Cynthia said that was insane. She said people would stop following rules. The attorney said people would sue if the board kept enforcing rules under an invalid contract. The board president called for a vote. The motion passed 4-1. Cynthia was the only no. The meeting ended with Cynthia storming out. I thought that was the win. It was not. 2 days later, I came home to find my car immobilized. A heavy-duty tire clamp was locked on the front wheel. A notice was stuck to the windshield. It said the immobilization was authorized by emergency board action due to unpaid fines. I checked the portal. No emergency meeting was posted. I called the board president. He said he did not authorize it. I called the management company. They said Cynthia did it herself. I called the tow company. They said they did not do it. They said it was not their clamp. I asked who else did immobilizations in the area. They gave me 2 names. I called both. Neither had a record. I took photos and called the police. The officer who responded said it was a civil matter unless I could prove the clamp was placed illegally. I said I could. I showed him the board suspension, the expired contract, and the lack of an emergency meeting. He said he could not remove the clamp, but he would file a report. He did. He also told me to contact a locksmith. I called Miguel. He came over with bolt cutters. We tried to cut the clamp. It was hardened steel. The cutters would not touch it. He said I needed a grinder. I did not have one. He said he would bring one in the morning. I said I needed my car tonight. I had a shift starting in 2 hours. He said I was stuck. I called the attorney. He said this was false imprisonment of property. He said I could file for an emergency injunction. I said I did not have time. He said I could call a locksmith who specialized in vehicle locks. I did. The locksmith came out, looked at the clamp, and said he could remove it, but it would cost me $200. I paid. He drilled out the lock. The clamp fell off. I threw it in my trunk and left for work. The next morning, Cynthia was waiting for me in the parking lot. She had her phone out, recording. She said I had destroyed HOA property. I said the clamp was placed illegally. She said I owed replacement costs. I said I would see her in court. She stepped closer. You can be mad, or you can be compliant, she said. I kept recording. A passerby with a phone held up joined the scene. Cynthia did not care. She kept talking. She said the board was going to fine me for vandalism. She said she had photos proving I damaged the clamp. I said the locksmith had photos proving it was intact when he removed it. She said her photos would be submitted to the police. I said good luck with that. She pulled a tow truck remote control out of her pocket. She said if I did not pay immediately, she would immobilize my vehicle again. I said she did not have authority. She said she did. She said the board gave her emergency powers during the suspension. I said that was a lie. She smiled. She said the board was afraid of her. She said they would not challenge her. I said I would. She pressed the remote. A motor whirred. I looked down. A second clamp was already halfway shut on my front wheel. That is when I said it. I am not the one you bluff. She shouted that my keys did not matter because the clamp was already locked. I pulled out my phone and played the tow company email. I held it up so her camera could see it. I said the tow company had already cut ties because the management company had no valid contract. I said every enforcement action she was taking was void. I said she was personally liable. She said I was lying. I said I had the documents. She said the documents did not matter because the board would back her. I said the board would not back her when their insurance got canceled. She stopped. If you are enjoying this story, hit that like button and subscribe because this is about to get even crazier. I pulled up the insurance letter on my phone. I showed it to her. Her face went white. She said the insurance company would not cancel over a few complaints. I said the complaints were not the problem. The problem was systemic retaliation under an invalid contract. I said the carrier already flagged the HOA as high risk. One more incident and they were done. She said I was bluffing. I forwarded the letter to her email while she watched. Her phone buzzed. She looked at it. She looked at me. She said the board would fire the management company. I said the board should have done that a year ago. The passerby was still recording. Cynthia turned to her and said to put the phone away. The passerby said no. Cynthia said she was violating privacy. The passerby said they were in a public area. Cynthia tried to grab the phone. The passerby stepped back. I stepped between them. I said we were done. Cynthia said we were not. She said I still owed fines. I said I did not owe anything for a fee that did not exist in the budget. She said the fee was real. I said prove it. She pulled out her binder and flipped to a page. She held it up. I took a photo. The page showed a line item for administrative processing fee. The amount was $50, not $75. I said the fee had changed. She said it had not. I pulled up my original notice. The fee was listed as $75. She said I was misreading it. I zoomed in. The number was clear. $75. She said the notice was wrong. I said then the fine was invalid. She said the fine was valid. I said she could explain that to a judge. That is when she tried to bait me. She leaned in close and said I was a troublemaker. She said I had turned the neighborhood against the board. She said people were scared to follow rules because I had made them think they could ignore authority. She said I was going to ruin the community. I said the community was already ruined by her. She said that was slander. I said it was fact. She said I was going to regret this. I said I already did not regret it. She raised her voice. She said I was aggressive. She said I was threatening her. I said I was standing in a parking lot holding a phone. She said she felt unsafe. The passerby laughed. Cynthia turned to her and said to stop. The passerby kept recording. Cynthia tried one more angle. She said if I removed the second clamp, she would call the police. I said go ahead. She pulled out her phone and dialed. She told the dispatcher someone was vandalizing HOA property. The dispatcher asked her location. She gave it. The dispatcher asked if the person was still there. She said yes. The dispatcher asked if she felt in danger. She said yes. The dispatcher said an officer was on the way. I kept recording. The officer arrived 10 minutes later. It was the same officer from before. He looked at me. He looked at Cynthia. He looked at the clamp. He asked what was going on. Cynthia said I had destroyed one clamp and was threatening to destroy another. I said the first clamp was removed by a licensed locksmith because it was placed illegally. I said the second clamp was placed without authority. I showed him the board suspension, the expired contract, and the tow company email. He read everything. He looked at Cynthia. He said the clamp needed to be removed. She said it was HOA property. He said it was on a vehicle without proper authorization. She said she had authority. He asked for documentation. She said it was in her office. He said to go get it. She said she did not have to. He said if she did not, he would treat the clamp as abandoned property and I could remove it. She said that was theft. He said it was not. She said she would sue. He said that was her right. She left. The officer waited with me. He said I should document everything. I said I was. He said I should file a restraining order. I said I was considering it. He said Cynthia was escalating and it was not going to stop until someone made her. I said I was working on it. He left. I called the locksmith again. He came back out. He removed the second clamp. I paid him another $200. I put the second clamp in my trunk next to the first one. That night, I filed a complaint with the state HOA oversight board. I attached everything: the doorbell footage, the backdated notices, the expired contract, the fake fees, the insurance letter, the police reports, the locksmith invoices, the tow company email. I asked for an investigation. I asked for sanctions. I asked for Cynthia to be removed from the board. I sent a copy to the HOA attorney. I sent a copy to every board member. I sent a copy to the management company. I sent a copy to Miguel and the other affected families. I sent a copy to the insurance carrier. The response came faster than I expected. The HOA attorney called me the next morning. He said the board wanted to settle. I said I was listening. He said they would void all fines against me and issue a written no-contact directive to Cynthia. I said that was a start. He said they would also issue a formal apology and reimburse my locksmith fees. I said I wanted more. He asked what. I said I wanted Cynthia removed from the finance committee. He said the board could not remove an elected member. I said they could remove her from the committee. He said he would ask. He called back an hour later. He said the board agreed. I said I wanted it in writing. He said he would draft it. I got the draft that afternoon. It included everything: void fines, written no contact, formal apology, locksmith reimbursement, committee removal. I read it twice. I asked Miguel to read it. He said it looked solid. I signed it. I emailed it back. The attorney confirmed receipt. He said the board would vote at the next meeting. I said I would be there. The meeting was 3 days later. I showed up early. So did Miguel. So did the other families. So did 24 other neighbors. The room was packed. Cynthia was not there. The board president opened the meeting and said they had several resolutions to vote on. He read the settlement terms. He asked for a motion. One board member moved. Another seconded. He called for discussion. No one spoke. He called for a vote. It passed 5-0. I got my settlement. But the story did not end there. 2 days after the vote, Cynthia showed up at my door. She said the board had betrayed her. She said she was going to fight the committee removal. She said she had evidence the board violated open meeting laws. I said good luck with that. She said she was not done. She said she was going to run for board president in the next election. She said she would win because people were afraid to run against her. I said she was wrong. She said I would see. She left. I called Miguel. He said we needed to run a slate. He said if we could get 3 people elected, we could take control of the board and fix the rules. I said I was not running. He said I did not have to. He said he would run. He said 2 other neighbors had already agreed. I said I would help campaign. He said that was enough. The election was 6 months later. Miguel and his slate won. Cynthia lost. She did not take it well. She filed a lawsuit claiming election fraud. The lawsuit was dismissed. She filed an appeal. The appeal was denied. She filed a complaint with the state. The state declined to investigate. She moved out of the neighborhood 2 months later. The new board rewrote the parking rules. They fired the management company. They hired a new one with a valid contract. They eliminated all the fake fees. They required actual evidence before fines. They passed a resolution prohibiting retaliation. They made the process transparent. The neighborhood changed. People started inviting guests again. People started parking on the street. People started questioning things at meetings without fear. The board listened. The new management company responded. The enforcement became reasonable. The fees became real. The rules became clear. But I did not forget what it took to get there. I kept every document. I kept every email. I kept every photo. I kept both clamps in my garage as a reminder. Miguel called them trophies. I called them evidence. He said I should sell them. I said I might need them someday. He laughed and said I was paranoid. I said I was prepared. He said that was the same thing. A year later, I got a call from another HOA in a different neighborhood. They said they had a board member like Cynthia. They asked if I would talk to them. I said yes. I spent 2 hours on the phone walking them through everything: the documents to request, the laws to cite, the evidence to gather, the process to follow. They thanked me. 6 months later, they sent me an update. Their Karen had resigned. Their board had reformed. Their neighborhood was better. I filed the email with the rest. Miguel started a website. He called it HOA Accountability Network. He posted guides. He posted templates. He posted case studies. He posted my story. Other people started posting theirs. The network grew. People from across the state joined. People from across the country joined. The stories were all different, but the pattern was the same. Bullies in leadership. Fake rules. Retaliation. Fear. And people who fought back and won. I never thought I would become part of something like that. I just wanted to fix my car and finish my repair before the weather changed. But Cynthia forced my hand. She made it personal. She made it a fight. And when you make it a fight, you better be ready to finish it. The funny part is, the thing that brought her down was not the harassment. It was not the fake fees. It was not even the expired contract. It was her favorite fee, the administrative processing fee. That fee showed up in violation notices for 2 years. It was her cash cow. She added it to everything. Parking violations, landscape violations, noise violations, pet violations. Every violation came with the fee. The total collected was over $15,000. But when the audit happened after the board suspended enforcement, they checked the ledger. The administrative processing fee was never recorded. It did not exist in the system. Cynthia had been pocketing it. The HOA attorney found the paper trail. Bank deposits to her personal account matched the fee totals. She claimed it was reimbursement for supplies. She could not prove it. The board referred it to law enforcement. She paid it back before charges were filed. But the damage was done. Her credibility was gone. Her power was gone. And her favorite fee was proven imaginary in the ledger. The final piece came at the hearing that decided her fate. The HOA hired a forensic accountant. The accountant presented findings: $15,400 in unrecorded fees, 2 years of falsified records, backdated notices that aligned with personal disputes, retaliation patterns against anyone who questioned her. The board attorney recommended removal and restitution. The board voted unanimously. Cynthia Evans was removed from all committees, barred from future board service, and given a written warning for harassment behavior. She was also required to repay the missing fees in full. She wrote the check at the meeting. She signed a release agreeing never to hold HOA office again. She left without saying a word. I got a fine waiver in writing with a firm no-contact directive. The board voided every violation she had issued against me. They voided every fine. They voided the immobilization charges. They reimbursed my locksmith fees. They reimbursed my attorney consult. They issued a formal apology. They posted a notice on the portal explaining what happened and promising it would never happen again. The HOA voted to require actual evidence before fines. They required photographic proof, timestamps, and written documentation for every violation. They required board review of all fines over $50. They required public posting of all enforcement actions. They made the process transparent and accountable. Miguel called it a revolution. I called it common sense. He said most HOAs would never do it. I said most HOAs never got caught. He said we got lucky. I said we got organized. He said that was the same thing. I said it was not. Luck is random. Organization is work. We did the work. We gathered the evidence. We filed the complaints. We showed up at the meetings. We ran the campaign. We voted. And we won. The neighborhood is better now. People smile when they see me. They say thank you. They say I changed things. I say we changed things. They say I led the fight. I say I just refused to back down. They say that is leadership. I say that is survival. I still live in Copper Canyon Estates. I still work as a school custodian. I still know everyone in town. But now, When someone gets a violation notice, they call me. I walk them through it. I show them the rules. I show them the process. I show them how to fight back. Most of the time, the notice gets voided before it goes anywhere. The new management company does not play games. They follow the rules. They require evidence. They listen. It is not perfect, but it is better. And every time I walk past my garage and see those 2 tire clamps on the shelf, I remember the moment Cynthia said the board would back her because they were afraid of her. I remember thinking that fear is only power if people let it be. The moment you stop being afraid, the power is gone. That is what happened here. People stopped being afraid. They started asking questions. They started demanding answers. They started holding the board accountable. And Cynthia could not survive that. Miguel still runs the network. It has grown into something bigger than either of us expected. Thousands of members, hundreds of success stories, dozens of Karens removed, dozens of boards reformed, dozens of neighborhoods fixed. He says we should write a book. I say the stories are already out there. He says people need a guide. I say the guides are on the website. He says people need inspiration. I say they need evidence. He says that is the same thing. Maybe he is right. Until the next HOA story, take care, and I will see you soon.